Where a dark man was being oppressed, he was being oppressed by the white man. Where the dark man was being exploited, he was being exploited by the white man. So they got together under this basis, that they had a common enemy. And when you and I here in Detroit and in Michigan and in America, who have been awakened today, look around us, we too realize here in America, we all have a common enemy. Whether he's in Georgia or Michigan, whether he's in California or New York, he's the same man. Blue eyes and blonde hair and pale skin. Same man. Don't let the enemy know that you got a disagreement. Instead of us airing our differences in public, we have to realize we're all the same family. And when you have a family squabble, you don't get out on the sidewalk. If you do, everybody calls you uncouth, unrefined, uncivilized, savage. If you don't make it at home, you settle it at home. You get in the closet, argue it out behind closed doors. And then when you come out on the street, you pose a common front, a united front. And this is what we need to do in the community and in the city and in the state. We need to stop airing our differences in front of the white man. Put the white man out of our meeting, number one, and then sit down and talk shop with each other. That's all you got to do. These Negroes aren't asking for no nation. They're trying to crawl back on the plantation. A revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way. And you sitting around here like a knot on the wall saying, I'm going to love these folks no matter how much they hate me. No, you need a revolution.
In the last 500 years, black people in this area of the world, we can say that there's no such thing as black culture. What there is what the system of racism, white supremacy, programs black people to do. You see, in other words, if the system of racism, white supremacy says, you are not going to be scientists. You are not going to be highly functioning doctors and lawyers and teachers. You are not going to have stable family life. You are not going to respect sex. Now, your role is to entertain me. So you can jump up and down and sing. You can dance, and yes, you're good at sports. You can do that in some venues. That's what I'm going to allow you to do. I'm not going to allow you to have stable communities, because if you have a Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm going to burn that down. If you think you're going to stabilize a so-called middle-class community and you're going to have a home that's mortgaged, I'm going to see that those mortgages are foreclosed so that you can be into family dissolution, place of living dissolved. So what we can say is that we have an imposed culture under the power dynamics of racism, white supremacy. See, I can see right now in my mind the picture of Beyonce with her legs wide open at the Super Bowl for last year. It was so appalling to me, I can't get it out of my mind in terms of what has been done to us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we would be wiser. No, we are trying to get ourselves to the point where we can establish what we would then call black culture, where we will no longer be victims of a system of racism, white supremacy. So once the system of racism, white supremacy has been replaced with a system of justice, that's when we will start talking about our culture. That's when we will begin talking about who we really are as black people.
The Christian church is there to remind people, young men included, and perhaps even first and foremost, that they have a woman to find, a garden to walk in, a family to nurture, an ark to build, a land to conquer, a ladder to heaven to build, and the utter terrible catastrophe of life to face stalwartly in truth, devoted to love, and without fear.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, please share. Please hit me up on Patreon. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here for the Patreons. We do have the archives going. So make sure you sign up for that, and make sure that you support this channel, because we are the Black Grassroots, and we are the only channel that I know of that's bringing you this stuff in order to defend you, particularly the Black Muslims, the Black Muslim community, who are being bombarded with just open white supremacist tropes in the so-called Muslim Ummah. Talking about, oh, we gotta make alliances with other white supremacists. Now, I told y'all that I wasn't gonna respond to Jordan Peterson's message to the Muslims, and I'm not. Okay, so if you're looking for that, it's not gonna be happening here. But we mentioned before that Jordan Peterson, all he is a proud colonizer. He's proud of his colonial roots. He's a proud white Christian, and his only goal is to push colonial interest. That's it. He's not interested in the truth. He's not interested in Islam, and he's actually carrying out the same strategies that white supremacists have been doing for the last 500 years. Exactly the same. And Muslims are pushing them down our throats. Y'all hearing me? And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is watch this.
The Christian church is there to remind people, young men included, and perhaps even first and foremost, that they have a woman to find, a garden to walk in, a family to nurture, an ark to build, a land to conquer,
The church is supposed to remind Christian men that they have a land to conquer. For those of you who think this is old, no, this is very new. While y'all was twitching and twirling and buck dancing and break dancing and twerking in front of Zaddy and them, pushing this dude, pushing them down the Muslims' throats, talking about his ideas align with Islam and we should seek alliance. Say what? You must be straight tripping. Straight tripping. Drugs in Islam is haram. But this is what y'all doing. So what we're going to do is we are going to watch Jordan Peterson's message to Christians. because y'all got so excited when he was on Muhammad Hijab, when he was talking to Hamza Yusuf and whatnot. Right-wing Islamic channels pushing this dude while he hides behind talking about he's a libertarian and stuff. Oh, I'm not alt-right. I'm a libertarian. You guys are sick, man. Anyways, let's see what he got to say to his message to Christians. Because if I don't show y'all, you won't watch it. You will not watch it. But I'm a big believer, if somebody is telling you that they are something, you should just believe them. Take them at face value. If they say that they are that thing, just, I say I'm a Muslim, I'm a black man, just take it at face value. If he's saying he's a proud white colonizing Christian, just take it at face value. Why do you need to go beyond that? He is a typical example of what Allah has mentioned in the Quran, that they will never be pleased with you until you are like them. Typical. He ain't changed. He's been exactly the same and very consistent since his Ian Hersey days. Very consistent. Not interested in history, not interested in the facts, not interested in anything except for pushing, the white man's burden on the earth. So let's have a look, shall we? Shall we have a look at this? Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Make sure y'all share this.
In the West is best construed as an oppressive patriarchy, motivated by the desire, willingness, and ability to use power, defined as the compulsion of others against their will, to attain what are purely selfish and self-serving ends. This is true at one. Human shades of Dolores Umbridge. Following all that, because that's not enough, even when pursued assiduously for total demoralization, is the inculcation of an extremely damaging ideology, which essentially consists of three accusations. Number one, human culture, particularly in the West, is best construed as an oppressive patriarchy, motivated by the desire, willingness, and ability to use power, defined as the compulsion of others against their will, to attain what are purely selfish and self-serving ends. This is true at every level of analysis. Marriage is akin to slavery, friendship to exploitation, political disagreement to war, and business arrangements to deception and theft. And this is true not only of the current social arrangements that characterize our culture, particularly in the West, but also the fundamental reality of history itself. Accusation number two. Human activity, particularly that undertaken in the West, is fundamentally a planet-despoiling enterprise. The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us and that could hypothetically exist in our absence. We might well be construed even as a cancer that threatens the very viability of the complex systems that make up the ecosystem of the Earth that shelters and supports us. We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation, and we have to place extreme limits on our wants, even our needs, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed.
This phenomenon that he's talking about with the environment, we talked about this on this channel from day one. Where are my day ones at? He's talking about human beings and stuff. Listen how he pitched it. I want y'all to listen.
Boiling enterprise. The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us.
The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us. Family, who is the threat? to this ecological utopia? Who is the threat that he's talking about? Who is it? Where are my day ones at? Is it the Africans? Is it the Indonesians? Who is this threat that he's talking about? Who is it that makes these incredible infrastructure contracts throughout the earth, building dams and wells, oil wells, and roads and pipelines, destroying entire forests and rainforests and indigenous lands? Is it people from the hood? People from the hood doing this? Is it black folk? He is charging the entire human race with a phenomenon that is an exclusively European and Western, meaning white Westerner, whatchamacallit, like phenomenon. And now the Chinese have developed this entire system in their own country. Not other countries, their own country. And he trying to make it a human problem. And furthermore, he talking about overpopulation. Every single time we talked about this on this channel, every time a white person says the earth is overpopulated, he ain't talking about his people. Let's be very clear. When a white man is saying that the earth is overpopulated, he means darkies. Let's be very clear. So that when white folk go to your African country or your South Asian country and make these predatory loans in those countries in order to steal those resources, and then your country gets poor and broke because of interest-based loans, the same thing that Allah himself declared war on, and your people in your country can't buy the food that is growing in their own country, that food doesn't get exported to white folks in Europe. When that happens, they can turn around and tell you that your country is overpopulated. 9 out of the 10 most populous cities on earth are in Europe. 9 out of 10. And you mean to tell me that the only people on earth that have an overpopulation problem are darkies? Peep the game, people. Peep the game. These are incredibly, you can't imagine the evil in these people. Because you're thinking of them like how you think of your particular group, and they're not like you. These are the type of people that put their foot on your neck and tell you that they're doing you a favor by having their foot on your neck. Anyway, let's keep going. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon.
And that could hypothetically exist in our absence. We might well be construed even as a cancer that threatens the very viability of the complex systems that make up the ecosystem of the earth that shelters and supports us. We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation. And we have to place extreme limits on our wants, even our needs, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed. Accusation number 3. The prime contributor both to the tyranny that makes up the oppressive patriarchy and structures all of our social interactions, past and present, And the unforgivable despoiling of our beloved Mother Earth is damnable male ambition, competitive and dominating, power-mad, selfish, exploitative, raping and pillaging. You might think that I'm overstating the case. Think again, sunshine. We in the West are facing an all-out assault at the deepest levels on what that old joker Jacques Derrida deemed the phallogocentric conceptual structure of civilization itself.
He legit, just right now, if you just peep what he said, he is an apologist for colonialism. I want you to listen to what he's saying. Listen.
Stating the case. Think again, sunshine. We in the West.
Did you see that? He's saying that you may think that I'm over exaggerating these arguments. Think again, sunshine. Does he come for an excuse for these arguments? No, not at all. He's essentially saying that those people making these arguments against the patriarchy, right? What now we call the patriarchy. Mind you, this entire patriarchy phenomenon is a purely European phenomenon. We outlined this before when we were reading from the book, They Were Her Property. How white women owned slaves during the slave period. About 40% of the slaves were owned by white women. And feminism was spearheaded because white women wanted to own slaves. When they got married, when a white woman married a white man, who was the property of who? Somebody put it in the chat, please. When white women married white men, who was the property of whom? That's why in white European culture, the white woman takes the name of her husband. It stems from the white woman becoming the man's property when she gets married. And in the capitalist system through slavery, there was so much wealth because you'd be a damn fool to get free land and free labor and not become rich. You'd be a fool, okay? That white woman wanted to keep that wealth. That's where it stemmed from. Before the prenuptial agreement, there was an anuptial agreement. That agreement between the white woman and her prospective husband, meaning that the women were fighting for their rights to keep their property, and they were winning these rights in court. Y'all hearing me? So this whole patriarchal stuff, that ain't got nothing to do with us. And it historically had never, ever, ever, ever had anything to do with us. That is a purely white, European, Western phenomenon. And y'all coming here listening to these people talk all the way from whatever Eastern country you come from, and you just start repeating everything you hear. Like a donkey. Sorry, it's like a parrot. You know what I'm saying? Just repeating stuff. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know what he's talking about right now. You don't know why this whole phenomenon of the man or the woman keeping her husband's name come from. You don't know where that come from. You just got here. And you want to push Jordan Peterson down the Muslims' throats. You don't even know the history behind any of this stuff. You're all tripping. Anyway, let's keep watching. Mind you, this is the message of the Christians now. Let's watch.
Are facing an all-out assault at the deepest levels on what that old joker Jacques Derrida deemed the phallogocentric conceptual structure of civilization itself. To take that apart, that's a society centered on the encouraging, adventurous, masculine spirit, and that privileges that hated word of all things, the divine logos. And what should we worship and celebrate properly other than that? Deconstructionists, the words of that mass murderer Karl Marx. And it is precisely those young men who are deeply conscientious, capable of guilt and regret, who have come to believe in pain that every deep impulse that moves them out into the world for the adventure of their life even that impulse drawing them to women, is nothing but the manifestation of a spirit that is essentially satanic in nature. This is not only wrong theologically, morally, psychologically, practically, and scientifically, it is literally anti-true. It's not a mere misstatement about the nature of reality, a minor conceptual error, but something that literally could not be farther from the truth. And something that distant from the truth comes from a place that cannot be distinguished from hell. The Christian church is there to remind people, young men included, and perhaps even first and foremost, that they have a woman to find, a garden to walk in, a family to nurture, an ark to build, a land to conquer.
The Christian church is there to remind men. What men? Is he talking to people like me? Is he talking to black Christians? When he's talking about a land to conquer? Which lands to conquer is he talking about? Because these white Christians didn't get enough, right? Up until this very day, they're conquering lands. Look what's happening in Sri Lanka today. That massive experiment gone haywire. Look what's going on in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka right now has no gas in the entire country. None. You can't even say the country's on fire because there's no gas to put it on fire. Sri Lanka. You need to explain to me how an entire country that is so close to Russia and that part of Southern Asia or whatnot got no gas. You tell me how the conditions of a country get to that level. Why? Because these people conquered it. And when you conquer a people, you never give them power. The whole goal is to keep them in a slave-like conditions. So your dark-skinned countries, you call them your countries, but really they belong to European corporations and bankers. The IMF, the World Bank, USAID. And he's encouraging the church to encourage other white Christians to go conquer countries. Like the good old days. Like how they conquered America, like how they conquered the West Indies and South America and Africa and all that kind of stuff. India. He's actually saying this. Remember his message to the Muslims? Muslims be nice to the Jews and go find a Christian friend and stuff like that. And his message to the Christians, go and conquer those people. And y'all are spreading him. Y'all are sick people. Sick.
A ladder to heaven to build, and the utter terrible catastrophe of life to face stalwartly in truth, devoted to love, and without fear. Invite the young men back. Say, literally, to those young men, you are welcome here. If no one else wants what you have to offer, we do. We want to call you to the highest purpose of your life. We want your time and energy and effort and your will and your goodwill. We want to work with you to make things better, to produce life more abundant for you and for your wife and children and for your community and your country.
Did you hear that? This is his message to the church. For those of y'all, see, I want to see how many Muslims are going to come on and actually make Tawbah for pushing this dude. Not one single second did the black grassroots ever give this guy any play. And when y'all asked us about him, we told you straight up who he was. And now you have this massive push to push this individual. And it's not about him. It's not about Jordan Peterson. It's about the alt-right. And Jordan Peterson, how does he shield himself by being associated with the alt-right? He says, I'm a libertarian. That's it. So with the words, just a word, you make an entire husnul done for this shaitan. An entire husnul dhan. You use the Quran, you know, the concepts in the Quran and the Sunnah about husnul dhan and apply it to this colonizer. Proud colonizer. Go out into the world and serve your country, your land, your family. Who speaks like this? This is colonizer talk. This is legit colonizer talk. This video was put out a few days ago, like last week or something. Man, I can't believe some of y'all, man. See, some of y'all Muslims are so incredibly ballless, okay? Ballless. You can't speak for Islam, okay? You can't talk like a strong Muslim for Muslims. You can't stand up for the oppressed. The only time we see you, if something going on in Palestine or Syria or something, right? And then you get brave by holding up a picket sign and a protest and stuff, raising money. You know what I mean? But you're going to invite the enemy to fight your battles for you. And I'm talking about, well, what's wrong with being mainstream Muslim? If this is mainstream Islam, then keep it. Just keep it, please. Keep your mainstream. This is beyond sick, man. Like, I can't even, like, I'm like lost for words even. And I know I'm talking a lot, but still, you're talking about the same people who destroyed all your countries. And you're giving them play like that. Just keep going, man.
And the world. And we have our problems in the Christian church. We are moribund and sometimes, far too often, corrupt, and sometimes deeply so. We are outdated, as are all institutions with their roots in the dead, but still often wise past. So join us. We'll help fix you up, and you can help fix us up. And together, we'll aim up. And here's a message to those young men skeptical about such things. What else do you have? You can abandon the churches in your cynicism and disbelief. You can say to yourself, narcissistically and solipsistically, the church does not express what I believe properly. Who cares what you believe? Why is this about you? Do you even want it to be about you? What if it was about others? What if it was about your duty to the past and to the broader community that surrounds you in the present? What if it was incumbent upon you and vital to your health and willingness even to live to rescue your dead father from the belly of the beast, where he has always resided, and to...
I hope you guys are catching the talk now. Those of you who are like foundational Westerners, like myself, you know exactly what he's talking about here. Okay, who is this dead father in the belly of the whale? Who is he talking about? Listen what he's saying. You think it's jokes.
And to the broader community.
Who's the broader community? Is it black people? Is he talking about black people? Who's the broader community? Jordan Peterson, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Peterson.
Surrounds you in the present. What if it was incumbent upon you and vital to your health and willingness even to live to rescue your dead father from the belly of the beast, where he has always resided, and to restore him to life? Once again, to the churches, Protestant, you're the worst at the moment. Catholic, Orthodox, invite young men, put up a billboard, say, young men are welcome here. Print some flyers and put them in a box by the billboard. Signal the existence of those flyers with an arrow with the words, more information about attending here. Tell those who have never been in a church exactly what to do, how to dress, when to show up, who to contact, and most importantly, what they can do. Ask more, not less, of those you are inviting. Ask more of them than anyone ever has. Remind them who they are. in the deepest sense and help them become that. Your churches, for God's sake, quit fighting for social justice. Quit saving the bloody planet.
And here we go. Oh my gosh, you cannot make this crap up, man. You just can't, man. There we go. Showing those true pasty white colors. Stop standing up for social justice.
Yeah, Salaam Alaikum, akhi.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. This guy's a clown, bro.
What you got for us, man?
Dude, this guy's a clown. You know what I think it is, though, bro? Like I just joined, right? Like I didn't watch like the last 25 minutes or whatever of the show, so I apologize for that. So maybe I missed this. But like, you know what it feels like? It feels like these guys, they realize that Islam is like the last frontier, right? And they're trying to catch onto like what we have, which is that like you know, like we have our community, we have our issues, right? Muslims have problems in every single. I don't care if you're a Black Muslim, Southeast Asian Muslim, Arab, whatever it is. Like we got brothers that have problems in our community, and we have a lot of issues. But like the one thing we can say for sure is that like we haven't lost the plot, right? Like everywhere where the white Christians like they have lost their religion. Like obviously, like they don't have the conviction of Deen, Iman, like we do. But the biggest thing is like where, like there are some things that we will never compromise on. You could put a gun to our head, and we're not going to compromise on. And for the Christians, they don't have anything like that. They don't have anything like that, and we're like. To like kind of try to stop the impending, you know,
so,
like hello,
hey, bro.
Hello.
Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
We good?
Hello. Yeah.
Thumbs up if y'all can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Thumbs up if y'all can hear me.
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now. Good, excellent. Okay,
Sorry,
keep going, bro.
Sorry about that. So I was trying to say that, like, the things that we would never allow in our masajid, right? Like, we would never allow some imam to say that, like, gay marriage is okay, or like,
Well, bro,
I don't know about that.
I see what you're saying, but believe me when I tell you, times are changing, okay? And everything you said right now used to be the case. It was the case, okay? But it's no longer the case.
Yeah, but
and what Jordan Peterson right now is he is basically calling the troops to assemble. Because what's going on right now is there is a civil war happening within the white supremacist paradigm, and it's very apparent. And he wants to be on the winning side, right? And the winning side to them is the alt-right side, okay? Because even though the alt-right, they don't have the numbers, you know, they're not as numerous as the liberals or whatnot, or the left-leaning people. What they do have is they have wealth, and they have money, and they have the zeal in order to carry out whatever they want. And so you're seeing some incredible madness. The same type of things that happened in World War II with Hitler, same type of things that happened in the Bolshevik Revolution. You know, it's the same type. It's the same type of things, right? It's really no different. Where you have a majority type class, and they are assembling against the minorities in their communities. You get me? So That's why he is using a lot of these dog whistles right now. Muslims have largely been manipulated as pawn pieces to participate in this for the last, I would say, 30, 40 years.
Dude,
Good
more than that, man. Like 300, bro.
Well, we're talking about in
the
Western construct, right?
Okay,
In a Western
fair enough.
construct, because remember, during the slave era, a lot of the Arab Muslims, they just kind of signed off on capturing black slaves, you know, and they didn't really have to do anything. They didn't have to bow down to any white supremacy. They just have to catch slaves in those times, right? But now what it is that you have white folk who have now reached all these Muslim lands, which they divided up themselves, mind you, right? They're the ones who decided who's going to be Pakistan, who's going to be Bangladesh, who's going to be. They decided all that. Okay, it was their borders who made up these countries, and they put their leaders in these countries. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
They put whoever they want to be in charge of these countries in these countries, and now, as long as these countries are being seen as countries and operating as groups as slaves, you know what I mean? Then they can usurp all the best and brightest minds out of those countries, bring them to the West, have them educated, and stay in those countries to push their agendas. And that's been happening for the last 30 to 40 years, bro. Solid.
That's the whole H-1B
so you have
visa,
this
bro.
large. What's that?
That's the whole H-1B visa system.
What's that?
That's the whole H-1B
Thank you. Right,
visa system. Yeah, that's what they do, bro.
Exactly. So before that, what it was that they were just coming as refugees from their countries or whatnot. The first type of refugees came from the South Asian region, right, and some parts in Africa, and then we started seeing a lot of Somalians in the 90s, lots of Somalians in the 90s, and then we started seeing like some of the Arabs from the Iraq and more recently Syria and whatnot, but it's all the same play. After 9/11, the narrative and the message started changing. You understand? Before 9/11, I think I mentioned this last time, is that the khutbahs were fiery and they were helping the Muslims. After that, they became highly
soft. Let's be real, bro.
Yeah. Like it's more now. The khutbahs, put it this way, the imams are employees. They're not imams. They're just employees like any other employee. So as an employee, you have to do what your boss tells you. The imams are just imams by name. You get me? Right? Yep. They don't have the freedom to do what they want.
Guys that memorize the Quran and have a nice voice and that's their, like, they're not trying to motivate a community.
Exactly. Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it.
They get the paper because they got to feed their fam, and that's
exactly.
That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Right. So when you're saying that the Muslims are, by and large, well, I have a clip. Let me see if I can find it, man. Right. Let me show you this, man. Like, if I have it here, I'll show it for y'all, man. I don't know if I showed you this, but let me see if I can find it here. I put it on last time. Here it is. Watch this, y'all. Watch. This isn't a real mess shit, okay? What you were saying? Watch. This is a real mess shit. Watch now.
Yeah, bro, you showed this in the other show too. It's just wild. It's freaking wild.
God save the queen in the mosque, bro. You think it's jokes? These people are not messing around. They are not messing around. We are the ones who are messing around. And then we wonder why we got all these problems. You see what I'm saying? To be honest, we deserve these problems. Look who we're pushing. You see what I'm saying? We're pushing problems. You get me? Anyways, go ahead. What you gonna say, bro?
No, bro, I feel you. So, like, going back to the whole like Jordan Peterson thing, like, I think, like, yeah, he's trying to assemble the troops,
Yes,
and but
no
I
doubt.
part of me also feels like I think him and his new boss, right? Like, you know, Ben Shapiro, Yehudi, like these guys wanna kind of like subvert, like you said before, right? Like their whole motivation is to subvert the efforts of the Muslims. I feel like this
Yeah.
is like they're trying to jump the gun because they're starting to also see that a lot of people are seeing like the Christian way of life is not working, and they're seeing the Muslims kind of. I mean, we got our issues, but we're holding on better than they are, right? And I think a lot of even non-Muslims are starting to see like, hey, man, Islam's got the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Well, the way that, in my opinion, I don't think Jordan Peterson views Muslims as a threat at all, like at all. And really, Muslims are not. If you're looking with your wartime glasses are on, right? Because you got to remember,
you're right. You're right.
Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, he said that all warfare is deception, right?
Yes, and
All
also,
warfare,
I mean,
all
didn't the
warfare
Prophet
is
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say that as well? War is deception.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. War is deception. That's right. Even the Prophet says something. He said that as well, right? So
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
yeah. So what he is doing is he's practicing the art of deception. That's that. My opinion. That's what I think he's doing, right? He sees that these tired. Like I'm calling him tired. He's not in his mind.
Exactly.
I'm saying all these tired Muslims, and there's thousands of them, right? Who like me. You know what I mean? Maybe I can pull on their heartstrings a little bit. You get me? But you can only hide what's in your heart so long. You feel me? So what did he tell the Muslims? He told the Muslims, oh, go find a Jewish friend, and Sunni, Shia, don't be arguing with one another, right? But
Dude,
what did he tell the
bro.
Christians? What did he tell the Christians? Go and conquer the lands. You know what I mean? The church got to get you to conquer the lands and marry the woman, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean,
I'm like, what? You mean like Iraq and stuff? Yeah, shit. Honestly, the Muslims in our time are like, it's a disease, bro. How you make an influencer your religious authority? How you do that? That's why you run into these problems, because you don't listen to the ulama. It's too boring for you. You need to be excited. You need to have your your senses stimulated. So you need to watch the next refutation, the next reaction video, the next social experiment. And you don't listen to the ulama. You know what I mean? Actually, the first time I saw Jordan Peterson pull up with Ian Hersey, I was done with him. That was it. And I was shocked to see Muslims pushing him. I'm like, what? Why?
Dude, exactly, bro. I've been saying that for a while too. I was like, dude, this guy, because before his new boss, he also used to work for another Zionist institution, the Hoover Institute, bro.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And those guys regularly do that. And I used to ask, because I would have these conversations. I remember one of the brothers was a Somali guy, and I was like mind blown. I was like, bro, you don't see it? The guy works for this multi-million-dollar institution that makes public policy and makes reports on how Lockheed Martin, they make reports for the DOD to decide what the U.S.'s next move is. You see what I'm saying? There's a community here. There's certain extremist groups here. We should look into that. Come on, man. It's so disheartening, bro. It's so disheartening.
Yeah, well, it's beyond disheartening. And furthermore, this is from actual warfare. This is from warfare. You understand? The first casualty in warfare is always the truth. If you look at how World War II, how Hitler garnered support, he garnered it through propaganda, right? And Allah explicitly says in the Quran that when a fasik is coming to you, bringing you news, go verify it. Nothing, literally nothing this guy says is historically accurate. Nothing. When it comes down to the history of things, you know what I mean? Like let me try to find this thing he said about Karl Marx. Let me try to find it. Like, 1 second. Let me just play it out here.
We're young men. That is not a phenomenon that can be easily accounted for. But let me try. Now, in the West, because of the weight of historical guilt that is upon us, a variant of the sense of original sin in a very real sense, and because of a very real attempt by those possessed by what might be described as unhelpful ideas to weaponize that guilt, our young people face a demoralization that is perhaps unparalleled. This is particularly true of young men, although anything that devastates young men will eventually do the same to young women. And that, in this era of antinatalism and equally reprehensible nihilism, is precisely the point. When they are children, boys are hectored for their toy preferences, which often include toy weapons such as guns, and their more boisterous playing style, as boys require active rough and tumble play, even more than girls, for whom it is also a necessity. When in grade school, boys are admonished, shamed, and controlled in a very similar manner by those who think that play is unnecessary, particularly if it's competitive, and who value a docile, harmless obedience above all. Shades of Dolores Umbridge. Following all that, because that's not enough, even when pursued assiduously for total demoralization, is the inculcation of an extremely damaging ideology, which essentially consists of 3 accusations. Number 1, human culture, particularly in the West, is best construed as an oppressive patriarchy, motivated by the desire, willingness, and ability to use power, defined as the compulsion of others against their will, to attain what are purely selfish and self-serving ends. This is true at every level of analysis. Marriage is akin to slavery, friendship to exploitation, political disagreement to war, and business arrangements to deception and theft. And this is true not only of the current social arrangements that characterize our culture, particularly in the West, but also the fundamental reality of history itself. Accusation number 2. Human activity, particularly that undertaken in the West, is fundamentally a planet-despoiling enterprise. The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us and that could hypothetically exist in our absence. We might well be construed even as a cancer that threatens the very viability of the complex systems that make up the ecosystem of the Earth that shelters and supports us. We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation, and we have to place extreme limits on our wants, even our needs, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed. Accusation number 3. The prime contributor both to the tyranny that makes up the oppressive patriarchy and structures all of our social interactions, past and present, and the unforgivable despoiling of our beloved Mother Earth is damnable male ambition, competitive and dominating, power-mad, selfish, exploitative, raping, and pillaging. You might think that I'm overstating the case. Think again, sunshine. We in the West are facing an all-out assault at the deepest levels on what that old joker Jacques Derrida deemed the phallogocentric conceptual structure of civilization itself. To take that apart, that's a society centered on the encouraging, adventurous, masculine spirit, and that privileges that hated word of all things, the divine logos. And what should we worship and celebrate properly other than that? Deconstructionists, the words of that mass murderer Karl Marx. And it is.
There you go. Sorry, I wasn't very sure where he said it, but did you hear what he said?
Yes, I did. He called Karl Marx
this guy is an adamant revisionist of history, bro. The mass murderer Karl Marx. Karl Marx was a mass murderer. He's supposed to be a university professor. Like I was like dumbfounded when he said that. Right? Karl Marx, he was a Jew from a Jewish family. Mind you, like, he is talking down to Muslims about this. Okay? His grandfathers, right? Both from both sides, Karl Marx, both grandfathers from both sides, they were both famous rabbis in Russia there, okay? And his own father converted to Protestantism. Christianity. Why? I'm asking y'all now. Why would Karl Marx's father convert to Protestantism, Christianity? Why was he doing it? Because he saw the light somehow in Christianity? Why do you think his father converted to Christianity? I'm asking. Do y'all know? Who knows? You don't know? Okay. Does anybody know while Karl Marx's father converted to Protestantism, even though His own father came from a famous rabbinic. Thank you, Khadija. I mean, Sister Tika got it so close, right? But in those times in Europe and in Russia, right, what was happening to Jews? Sister Tika got a big portion of it. The Jews were being prevented from economic and political advancement. So what did they do? Not just in Russia, they started converting to Christianity. Do y'all remember the Spanish Inquisition? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember how Hitler, allegedly gassed 6 million Jews? These are all Christians doing it. But he got all this work for Muslims to go find a Jewish friend. You get me?
Guy's a clown, bro. Straight up
Who
clown.
did Karl Marx mass murder? That's what I want to know. Who was it? Where are all these bodies with the blood of Karl Marx on it? People who allegedly followed Karl Marx said that they were mass murderers, but people who allegedly followed Jesus, alayhi salam, said were mass murderers too. So I'm just saying, including his own whatchamacallit, colonial ancestors. You get me? But I don't know where these people Karl Marx mass murdered was. That's a big gap. That's not a small thing. But that goes to what I was telling you. I was telling you that this guy, he don't know history. And he always says this stuff, like all the time. He just kind of pulls up these points right out of his keister, right? But he's only doing it because he's incredibly intelligent and he knows how to rally his own people, which happens to be white Christian men. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, bro. Go ahead. What you going to say, bro?
Dude, I got nothing to say, bro. I mean, you're just speaking facts. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I don't know. You know, you said that they don't see the Muslims as a threat, but I don't think they see Muslims physically as a threat either. But I think they see Islam as an ideology to be a very dangerous.
Yeah, of course.
Thing because they study Islam and they know that, dude, we're like Muslims. I mean, like, you know, I'm not trying to get this channel shut down, so I'll try to be more careful with my words here. But like, really, like, you know, like when you watch those like older communist, like Cold War movies, and they got the Russian sleeper agent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some guy just says a couple of numbers, and the guy just goes like into like robot mode.
Yeah.
Dude, Islam, like the Quran is like that for the Muslims, right? Like there's a lot of Muslims who are not on the haqq. They're not on the manhaj, but you know, they have that little seed in their heart. And all it takes is like one good khutbah, one good brother who takes you to the side, one good sister that says something that can spark that iman in your heart like a flame, bro. And it takes you, you know, like it brings you, it wakes you up like a sleeper agent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're afraid of that, dude. They're really afraid of that. That's why they're always putting so much money trying to stop us and investing in all this technology and reading our messages
and it's funny you mentioned about the money. It's funny you mentioned about the money because when Salafia was growing back in the 90s, like what you're saying is so true because that was a clear threat. You know, the Salafi growing in the black community, and of course the government got involved, in my opinion, right? And they put a serious kibosh on it with little resources, very little, and they were able to do it. It was so few resources. They didn't have to spend much money.
It's like that show that you did earlier, like a couple months ago or whatever, where you talked about how there was some white girl doing a study about the Salafis in Philly. It's like they're afraid. You know what I mean? Like they know that Islam is the sleeper religion, bro. Like all it takes is a couple of brothers, some good shuyukh who speak the haqq, and people will see it, and it opens up your heart. You know, Allah can give you hidayah at any moment.
Yeah, of course, right? And when you're mentioning about the money, remember the sellouts and the shines, they come a dime a dozen. You get me? So that's why power, it always comes from the ground up. It comes from the grassroots. Because if everybody's on code, even the sellouts and the shines and the infiltrators and instigators, they won't be able to do anything because everybody's on code, and it just takes the basics of Islam to actually to do that. You know what I mean? It's really, if you think about it, it's not that difficult, but rather the Muslims themselves are making it difficult on themselves because we are the consumer of this nonsense. We're the ones who are pushing Jordan Peterson. You get it? We invest in our own destruction and then wonder why we're getting destroyed. You feel me?
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, Brother Meharaz, I'll let you get the last words in and then we'll call it a night, inshallah. Go ahead.
Dude, Jazakallah khairan again for this amazing show. You're truly a blessing to the community, and may Allah reward you. May Allah give you tawfiq and keep you safe during these trying times. Ameen.
Ameen. And you and all of us. Ameen. Hayakumullah. I'd like to thank all the listeners. I'd like to thank the brother, the guest Miraz, for joining me tonight. And I'd like to thank all the people who participate in the show. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit me up on Patreon. As you know, we're going to get more haters for just calling out these tap dancing, boot licking, booty shaking, twitching, twirling, work it girl, twerk it girl, Muslims who push this stuff and then say we're gonna make alliances with these types. You are like this. The sickness is like, you can't describe it, man. You can't even describe the sickness behind that, man. But anyways, you know, keep investing in your destruction. Keep investing in people who are literally talking about, you know, go out and conquer. he legit said that to white Christian men. You know, the church got to teach you how to conquer and stuff. Like, what more do you want? You know what I mean? Anyways, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are the Muslim wing of the black grassroots. Unapologetic, strong, uncompromising voices that have been in the faces of the enemy and those who tap dance for them. The Feachaz is proud to present the archives exclusively on Patreon.